and the other is a dissolution of the Constituent Assembly. The proviso merely does not say Constituent Assembly of the state. It says Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. Clause 2 says Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution. Therefore, the tenure of the Constituent Assembly is inbuilt, my lord, into sub-article 2 and the proviso as well. If therefore, my lord, the triggering factor as per the proviso to Article 373 for the President to issue a public notification either abrogating it or, my lord, declaring that it will be operative only with such exceptions and modifications is a recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. It has to be inferred, in my respectful submission, that the triggering factor would be alive and operative only till such time as the Constituent Assembly is alive. And this is an inference, my lord, which I beg to infer and which I commend for your lordship's acceptance. Is inbuilt into sub-article 2 and the proviso. That's why, my lord, the crucial words Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2 need not have been that way. But when sub-article 2 says before the Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution of India, therefore, my lord, even originally it was contemplated that this Constituent Assembly for the state will have no function other than, my lord, or will be functus officio once the Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened. That, my lord, it's a historically recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself in 1957 itself. But that's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso, the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated as being available coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly referred to in sub-article 2, and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed. But, my lord, it cannot, under any interpretative tool, give fodder to a submission that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate Article 370 sub-article 3, would also cease to be operative once a proviso becomes inoperative. My lord, ideally, my lord, the proviso could have been deleted after the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly for the state. That's a different matter, my lord. One need not get into that hypothesis at all. But it cannot be contended that the power of the President vouchsafed under Article 373 would cease to be available because the proviso is no longer available to be operated upon. In my respectful submission, the proviso itself contemplates that the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly, my lord, whatever is the content of the recommendatory power or not, my lord, it's a different matter. I think enough submissions have been made on that. But the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly was intended even originally to be coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the state was convened. My lord, my written submissions are at pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3. 401 to 411 of volume 3.
411 to?
401 to 411. My Lord, this aspect has been dealt with, my Lord. I won't therefore take up more time of your lordships on this aspect. My Lord, paragraphs 1 to 4 I have dealt with this. My Lord, the next submission, my Lord, would be on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there are two, my Lord, papers, my Lord, which your lordships may kindly have a look at, juxtaposed with each other. My Lord, one is the opening remarks of Dr. Ambedkar, my Lord, which your lordships will find in volume 8 of the compilation of documents.
Okay.
Sorry.
If you're beginning a new point on federalism, should we take it up on Monday?
Very well.
So that.
Very well. Lord, I'll still maintain the timeline.
We are always conscious of how you are generally in the court, so we don't expect anything different. You'll be precise and always very focused. We expect that as usual.
I'm grateful.
Thank you.
My Lord, there was one request, my Lord, lordship, if your lordships could consider, because it fell from your lordships, my Lord, would it be possible for your lordships to convene at 10 o'clock on Monday so that we get 3 hours?
Lord, Mr. Nataraj had, my Lord, 10 minutes of submissions. A new point.
The circumstance for today, and we have given you full half day now.
Very good.
Lord, Mr. Nataraj would like to have 10 minutes, and two other people who will. I know your lordships would not.
We'll come back.
Not so young can divide the time period between 10:30 and 1.
At the same time, I know that everybody has worked very hard. We wouldn't want
Therefore,
to deprive even at least 5 minutes of time.
Lord, some of them have worked since 10 years. Let them have, my Lord, their day in the court, my Lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them will give them some time so that they have that time.
No, we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example, Mr. Tanwani is also a research scholar.
Who?
Mr. Tanwani, Mr. Rahul Tanwani has been...
Tanwani, Mr. Rajput, they have been working since many years.
We'll certainly give them
whatever they can contribute.
I told Mr. Tanwani that some of the points I want to make, I will keep for him.
I'm sure you'll be able to.
We'll do that. We'll do that. We won't exceed the time. We'll finish by Monday, 1 o'clock or whatever is the time that your lordships are.
1 o'clock.
So we'll wrap it up on Monday for this side at 1 o'clock, and then in the afternoon we'll start the rejoin.
Very good.
Grateful.
Grateful to you. that the recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with the tenure of the Constituent Assembly, which has to end, my lord, with the framing of the Constitution for the state. It is not as if, my lord, the Constitution contemplates a Constituent Assembly for any purpose other than the framing of the Constitution for the state as such. Therefore, my lords, one of the termini which your lordships were referring to there are two terminus echo, my lord, insofar as the Constituent Assembly is concerned, going by sub-article 2 and the proviso. One is the convening of the Constituent Assembly, and the other is the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly. The proviso merely does not say Constituent Assembly of the state. It says Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. Clause 2 says Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution. Therefore, the tenure of the Constituent Assembly is inbuilt, my lord, into sub-article 2 and the proviso as well. If therefore, my lord, the triggering factor as per the proviso to Article 373 for the President to issue a public notification either abrogating it or, my lord, declaring that it will be operative only with such exceptions and modifications is a recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. It has to be inferred, in my respectful submission,
Morning, Brother Gavai.
that the triggering factor would be alive and operative only till such time as the Constituent Assembly is alive. And this is an inference, my lord, which I beg to infer and which I commend for your lordship's acceptance.
The presentations will be made, ladies and gentlemen, from this podium. We also have a clicker for your
Is inbuilt
convenience.
into sub-article
Clicker,
2 and the
slide
proviso.
changer, as you can see, has a green
That's why, my
button,
lord, the
which is
crucial
go
words
ahead on your
Constituent
slides,
Assembly
and
of the
red
state
button is
referred to
go
in
back,
clause 2
should you skip a
need
slide.
not have been that way.
And,
But when sub-article 2
another thing that I
says
have
before
to
the
announce
Constituent
is,
Assembly for the purpose of
each
framing the
presenter
Constitution
is
of
going to
India.
get 3 minutes. We request you to please.
Therefore, my
keep
lord,
it
even
on
originally,
and,
it was
a buzzer will be
contemplated that this
sounded at
Constituent
the end of the
Assembly for the
one,
state
2
will have
minutes,
no
30 seconds.
function
So
other
that
than, my
will
lord,
alert
or
you
will
when
not,
30 seconds
will be
remaining.
functus
Additionally,
officio
there's going
once
to
the
be a
Constituent
timer
Assembly of the
running
Constitution of the
topmost,
state is
right
convened.
corner of your screen.
That, my lord, it's a
assess
historically
time.
recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself in 1957 itself. But that's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso, the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated as being available coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly referred to in sub-article 2, and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed. But, my lord, it cannot, under any interpretative tool, give fodder to the recommendatory power that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate Article 370 sub-article 3 would also cease to be operative once a proviso becomes inoperative.
Hello.
My lord, ideally, my lord, the proviso could have been deleted after the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly for the state. That's a different matter, my lord. One need not get into that hypothesis at all. But it cannot be contented that the power of the President vouchsafed under Article 373 would cease to be available because the proviso is no longer available to be operated upon. In my respectful submission, the proviso itself contemplates that the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly, my lord, whatever is the content of the recommendatory power or not, my lord, it's a different matter. I think enough submissions have been made on that. But the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly was intended even originally to be coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the state was convened.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are now starting with the Space Business Connect session. In this session, we have actually invited overseas and Indian companies to make a pitch about their companies.
My lord, my written submissions are at
49 companies.
pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3.
Morning, Chief.
401 to 411 of
Your
volume 3.
Lordship,
As I said
a
earlier,
request from Mr.
we
Sybil.
request each speaker to be
Lordship's
brief
indulgence, he is
and,
unable to be
complete
present
their
today
talk
on account of some
under 3
personal
minutes.
difficulties.
401 to
Before we
411.
begin with the pitch presentation session, we'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr.
My lord, this aspect has been
Pavan
dealt
Goenka,
with, my lord.
Chairman in Space,
I won't
who's
therefore
going to
take
be
up more
chairing this
time
session.
of your
Extend a
lordships
very
on this
warm welcome
aspect.
to Mr. Somnath S., Secretary, Department of Space and Chairman ISRO, seated on the head dais. And we also extend a very warm welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Dr. Vinod Kumar, Director Promotion in Space, and Mr. Shantanu Bhattabdekar, who's the Scientific Secretary of Indian Space Research Organization. Let's extend a hand and welcome the dignitaries in our midst. And
Lord, paragraphs 1 to 4 I
a
have
very
dealt
warm welcome
with.
to all the distinguished delegates. And ladies and gentlemen, with that, I would first, of course, request Dr. Pavan Goenka, Chairman in Space, to do the opening remarks. Can we have the microphone on, switched on the dais, please?
My lord, the next submission, my lord, would be on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there are two, my lord, papers, my lord, which your lordships may kindly have a look at, juxtaposed with each other. My lord, one is the opening remarks of Dr. Ambedkar, my lord, which your lordships will find in volume 8 of the compilation of documents.
So if you're beginning a new point on federalism, should we take it up on Monday?
Very well.
Welcome to the
So
grand
that-
finale of
Very-
hectic 2 days of schedule.
Lord,
And
I'll
as was
still
mentioned
maintain
earlier,
the
that we
timeline.
have about 50.
We are always conscious of how you are generally in the court, so we don't expect anything different. You'll be precise and always very focused. We expect that as usual.
I'm great.
Thank you.
My lord, there was one request, my lord, lordship, if your lordships could consider, because it fell from your lordships, my lord,
So let's
would
see
it be
how we,
possible
how
for your
we,
lordships to
manage that.
convene at
But
10
let me just,
o'clock on
say
Monday
it's,
so
you
that
know,
we
very
get 3
continuous.
hours?
Lord,
We talked
Mr.
about
Nataraj
where
had,
we
my lord,
talked
10
about,
minutes of submissions.
what
A
each
new
country
point.
is doing, and now we are talking about what some of the companies are doing. We have a very good lineup of companies that will be making the presentations. And I think you will find, as I looked at some of the presentations, that
Dear
fair amount
circumstance
of
of
work
today,
is happening
we've
all
given
over
you
the
full
world.
half day now.
Something that none of us
Very
perhaps have a full.
Lord, Mr. Nataraj would like to have 10 minutes.
You will really realize.
Two young, two other people who will, I know your lordships would not.
We'll come back.
Not so young can divide the time period between 10:30 and
10:31. At the same time, I know that everybody has worked very hard. We wouldn't
Therefore,
deprive
some
even
of
at least
them
5
have-
minutes of time.
Lord,
to
some
the
of them have worked since 10 years. Let them have, my lord, their day in the court, my lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them will give them some time so that they have that
No,
time.
we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example, Mr. Tanwani is also a research scholar.
Who?
Mr. Tanwani, Mr. Rahul Tanwani has been
Tanwani,
spending.
Mr. Rajput, they have been working since many years.
Certainly give them.
Whatever they can contribute.
ACLM organizing committee, I extend a warm welcome to all of you.
I'm sure you'll be able to.
We'll do that.
This
We'll do. We
Space
won't exceed the
Business
time.
Connect session.
We'll finish by
During this
Monday,
session,
1
this
o'clock or
presentation
whatever is the
are
time that your
planned
lordships
by
are. 1
global
o'clock.
space industry.
So we'll wrap it up on Monday for this side
As
at
we
1
gather
o'clock.
here to
And then
witness the
in
cutting
the
edge
afternoon, we'll
innovation
start
and
the rejoinder.
capabilities of
Grateful.
space
Grateful.
industries from around the world. Friends, we are witnessing a new space era in human history where the space industries are working to revolutionize our understanding of the universe. I am honored to be here before you all as we embark on this journey that we shape the future of space explorations. It is truly inspiring to witness the incredible growth and potential of the global and Indian space industry The blossoming Indian space industry has garnered worldwide attention and admiration in recent times. You should have read a recent article in New York Times, Explosive Growth of Indian Space Tech Startups. I am pleased to see that out of total 50 plus presentation, over 60% are from Indian industry. Your dedication, ingenuity, and relentless pursuit of excellence have positioned Indian space sector to be reckoned with within the global space community. Friends, the space industry with its ever-expanding opportunities has the power to transform not only the understanding of our universe, but also everyday lives of here
The
on
recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with
under various verticals of space.
the tenure
I would
of the
like to
Constituent
express
Assembly,
my
which has to
gratitude
end,
the G20 SCLM organizing
my lord, with the
committee
framing of the
for
Constitution
this
for the state.
initiative. Your commitment to
It is
nurturing
not
the
as
space
if, my lord, the
ecosystem is commendable,
Constitution contemplates
and
a
we are
Constituent
privileged to
Assembly
have
for any purpose
your
other than the
unwavering support.
framing of the
The
Constitution for the
potential
state as such.
partnership that can develop here
Therefore,
can
my lord,
propel your
see,
ventures to new heights.
one of the
Without
termini
further ado, let us
which your
embark
lordships
on
were
this
referring to,
remarkable journey of limitless possibilities. Friends, new space era
there
has
are two
begun.
terminus echo, my
Thank you,
lord,
and let the
insofar as
presentation begin. Please stick
the
to
Constituent
allotted
Assembly is
time,
concerned, going by
as
sub-article
we
2
have to
and the proviso.
have presentation from 50 plus presentations.
One is the convening of the Constituent Assembly,
Thank you very much, sir.
and the other is the dissolution
And
of the
with that,
Constituent
ladies and
Assembly.
gentlemen, we will first start with the presentations from the
The
industry.
proviso
bodies.
merely
So
does
I'm
not
going to
say
request
Constituent
Mr.
Assembly of the
Anil Kumar
state.
Bhatt, Director General of ISPA, Indian
It
Space
says
Association,
Constituent
please
Assembly
make
of the
his
state
presentation.
referred to in clause 2.
Good afternoon and Jai Hind.
Clause 2 says Constituent Assembly for the
Chairman
purpose
ISRO,
of framing the
Chairman in
Constitution.
Space, dignitaries on the stage, and industry delegates.
Therefore, the tenure
to
of the
Space
Constituent
Economy
Assembly
meeting. It's my honor to represent the Indian space
is
industry
inbuilt,
here,
my lord, into
and I'll
sub-article 2
quickly go
and
through some
the
of
proviso
that
as well.
has been spoken in the last 2 days, would be a repetition. Please pardon me for that.
If
but I
therefore,
would
my lord,
skip
the
most
triggering
wherever
factor,
that's required.
as per the proviso to Article
The Indian Space
373,
Association was made in October
for the President to
2011,
issue a public
21,
notification either abrogating
to
it
create an enabling environment for
or, my lord,
strengthening
declaring
the
that it will be
private
operative
industry
only with such
in the Indian
exceptions
space
and
sector,
modifications,
and to propel India to the global forefront
is a
in the
recommendation of
entire
the
space
Constituent
ecosystem.
Assembly
And our focus
of
areas
the
were,
state
of
referred to
course,
in clause
most
2.
importantly, unified
It has to be inferred, in my
for a
respectful
policy
submission,
framework for energizing business growth, to
that the
interface with
triggering
the defense and
factor
security agencies
would
in
be
India
alive and operative
for capacity and knowledge building
only till
and for
such time
international
as
partnerships.
the Constituent Assembly
During
is
our
alive. And this is
inauguration, these are the
an
four
inference, my lord, which I
frameworks
beg to
the
infer
Prime Minister gave us.
and which I commend for your
First
lordship's
was
acceptance,
allow the private sector freedom of innovation.
is inbuilt into
Government
sub-article
to play
2
the role of
and the
enabler.
proviso.
We have to prepare
That's
the
why, my
next
lord, the
generation
crucial words Constituent
future
Assembly of the
in
state
space
referred to in clause 2
and
need not have been
treat
that
the
way.
space sector
But
as
when
a
sub-article
resource
2 says
for the
before the
progress of the
Constituent
Commonwealth.
Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution of India,
We today
therefore, my
have
lord, even originally it was
members. I'm
contemplated
flashing
that
to
this
you to
Constituent
just
Assembly for the
flash
state
to you the major
will have no function
industry players in
other than,
space
my lord,
which
or
are
will
there in
not,
India.
will be
7 of our
functus
founding
officio once
members,
the Constituent Assembly of the
9
Constitution of the
our
state
board
is
members, all of
convened.
these have
That, my lord, it's a
been suppliers
historically recognized fact that it
components
actually
or
dissolved
vendors
itself
to ISRO.
in
And
1957
now we are
itself.
looking
That's a
at
different
them
matter.
to evolve
But the point is,
as
my lord, for the
independent
purpose of the
entities
proviso,
to do end-to-end work in space.
the
We have
triggering factor, my lord,
we
is
have
contemplated
associate
as
members also, which are also some of them
being
international
available
companies,
coterminous with
and we
the
have a
life
large
of the
number of
Constituent Assembly
startups.
referred to in
Putting
sub-article
them
2,
as per their expertise.
and therefore, my
This
lord,
is
it
how the
ceases to have
upstream,
any
midstream and downstream looks in India.
significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed.
This slide was flashed yesterday by
But, my lord,
the
it
chairman
cannot,
of
under
INSPACE.
any
What I
interpretative
wanted
tool,
to add is from September last year, when the policy,
give fodder to
when the
an
draft
to a
telecommunication
submission
policy was taken out, and thereafter the draft
that Article
geospatial
370
policy,
as a
and in
whole
April
and at
this
any
year,
rate
the
Article 370
release of the space
sub-article
policy.
3
These have been very important
would also
events
cease to be operative
in
once the
growth of the
proviso
Indian
becomes
space
inoperative.
sector. And we are awaiting the FDI policy, which we are hoping
Lord, ideally-
will be coming very soon. Notwithstanding
Ideally,
that,
my lord, the proviso
activities
could have
by
been,
our
could have
industry
been
members
deleted
have already started in
after
India.
the dissolution
is
of the Constituent Assembly
How
for the
the
state.
startups have grown today with a
That's a
total
different matter,
about
my lord. One need not get
148
into that
which are
hypothesis at
there
all.
recorded, and much
But
more
it cannot be
who have
contented
registered themselves within space.
That the power of the president vouchsafed under Article
The
373
chairman ISRO in one of his talks
would cease to be
6 months
available
back
because the proviso
coined
is
a
no
new
longer
word
available to
called
be operated
National
upon.
Space Enterprise of India. And what he said was,
In
beyond
my
ISRO,
respectful submission, the
now
proviso
it is
itself
NSI,
contemplates
in space,
that the recommendatory power of the Constituent
entire
Assembly,
Indian
my lord,
Space
whatever is the
Association
content of the
and the
recommendatory
entire
power or
Indian
not, my
space
lord, it's a different
industry,
matter, I
that
think.
includes
Enough
startups
submissions have
and
been made on
academia.
that.
And
But the
all
recommendatory power of the
these
Constituent
which form the
Assembly
space
was
enterprise
intended even
would
originally
lead
to be
India's
coterminous with
future
the
space journey. Of course,
life of the Constituent
many
Assembly,
of our
which anyway, my
industry
lord,
members will be
was dissolved
supported
after the Constitution
and
of the state was
handheld
convened.
by ISRO, which has a legacy of more than 60 years.
My lord, my written submissions are at pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3. 401 to 411 of volume 3. 411
We
to
have had a very
401 to 411.
positive before the government had announced the policy in 2020.
My lord,
and
this
is the
aspect
kind
has
of
been dealt with, my
investment
lord.
which our
I won't therefore take up
startups
more
receive in
time
India.
of your lordships on this
And
aspect.
every year it has been increasing, and in 2023, we are very confident that it will cross the figures which are there for 2022. Some of this was again flashed by my chairman, but I would like to highlight to you some of the major activities which has happened is, of course, firstly is the signing of
Lord, paragraphs 1
the
to 4 I have
contract
dealt
for the
with.
PSLVs, 5 PSLVs, with HAL and L&T consortium. Then is Skyroot, which was a startup which just came up in 2018 and was able to launch in November 15, 2021. Agnikul is another company which has making a 3D printed semi-cryogenic engine which has been tested on ground, and we hope they would be launching very soon.
My lord, the next submission, my lord, would be
We
on the aspect
had
of federalism.
historical
Lord, there
launch
are
of 72
two,
satellites,
my lord,
two launches for OneWeb,
papers, my lord,
which happened last year and
your
this
lordships
year in
may kindly
April.
have a look at
Digantara,
juxtaposed
again,
with
a
each
startup,
other.
has
My lord, one is the
successfully
opening
launched
remarks of
the
Dr.
world's first
Ambedkar,
commercial space-based
my lord,
weather
which your
monitoring
lordships will
system.
find in
Pixel has
volume
been
8
able
of
to
the
launch
compilation
3
of
satellites
documents.
and
Okay,
has
since you're
also
beginning
got
a
a
new
contract
point on
from
federalism, can we take it
NRO
up on
in
Monday?
USA.
Very well.
So that
Trua has launched 2
Very-
nano satellites, while Nelco
Lord, I'll
and
still
Telesat
maintain the
are
timeline.
successfully have
we
had a
always
demo on
conscious
LEO
of how you are
in
generally in
India.
the court, so we don't expect anything
Ajista
different.
just
You'll be
in June,
precise and
on
always
10th June,
very,
has
very
launched
focused.
their
We
first
expect
satellite.
that as usual.
These are
Agreed.
these
Thank
are
you.
just
My lord, there was
some
one
of the
request, my
many
lord, lordship,
successes
if your
we have
lordships could
had
consider,
in the last
because it
1
fell
year
from your lordships.
after the new
My lord,
policy was announced. And in all
would
this,
it be possible for your
hand-holding
lordships
by
to
ISRO
convene at 10 o'clock
and
on
support
Monday so
from
that we get
InSpace
3 hours?
Lord,
has been a very,
Mr.
very
Nataraj
major and important
had, my
factor
lord, 10 minutes of submissions. A new
growth
point.
of our private sector. These are the other activities which have happened. I'll not go through each one of them. We also got a very policy which I mentioned in April,
circumstance for today,
which
we've given you
gives
full
an
half day now.
opportunity to NGEs
Very-
to do
Lord,
everything possible.
Mr. Nataraj would like to have 10
Remote
minutes.
sensing,
And
navigation,
two young, two
And
other people who
in
will,
all
I know your
domains,
lordships would not.
including
We will
mining
come back.
and
Mr.
extraterrestrial
Not so young can divide the time period between 10:30
There's
That
a
would
lot
be
of
one.
faith which has been
At the
put
same time, I
in
know that
non-government
everybody has
entities
worked
by the
very hard.
government.
We wouldn't
Therefore,
deprive
some
even at
of
least
them
5
have-
minutes
I'm
of
very
time.
But
sure
some of them
that
have
our
worked
industry
since
will live
10
up
years.
to these
Let them have, my lord, their day in the court, my lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them
We
will
have
give them
released
some
certain
time so that
documents.
they
This
have that
document
No, no,
I
we'll
just
do
wanted
that.
to
Certainly.
For
highlight.
example,
We
Mr.
had
Tanwani is also a
got
research
with
scholar.
ENY,
Who?
we had got a
Mr.
study done
Tanwani,
last
Mr.
year
Rahul Tanwani
on
has
what
been
is the
studying.
Tanwani,
overall
Mr. Rajput,
Indian
they have been
space
working since
economy
many years.
We'll certainly
compared
give
to
them
the
Whatever
world
they
one,
can
and the
contribute.
figures by their prediction by 2025 we would have an
sure you'll be able to
economy
We'll do that.
of
We'll do
about
that.
13
We won't
billion.
exceed the time. We'll
There
finish
is
by
various segments,
Monday,
the figures
1
are
o'clock or
given there.
whatever is the time that your
Of
lordships
course,
are.
launch vehicles
So
would be
we'll,
the least.
we'll wrap it up on
About
Monday for this side at
1
1
billion.
o'clock. And then in the afternoon, we'll start the rejoin.
Very
This is
Grateful.
what the
Grateful to you.
division of the sectors and the likely percentages growth which are, which are likely to happen in satellite manufacture, launch services, ground segments, and satellite services. The largest growth, of course, would be in the launch services. We have also done a study. We had a meeting along with US and IIT Madras, where we were looking at the association of all space entrepreneurs in the Indo-Pacific. We all met there and we agreed that we would be making an association for all of us being together. On the aspect of space technology parks, many of our states in India have been moving in it. Kerala, Gujarat, Trivandrum, where at one spot they are providing all the opportunities for our space industry companies and especially the startups. We in ISRO, ISPA, carry out 2 conclaves. One is the Indian Space Conclave, which we started last year, and we had the Minister and Chairman ISRO there to support us, and a Defense Space Symposium where we looked into what all the defense forces would require, all the 3 services, and we have been able to get 75 defense challenges for the industry from the Ministry of Defense. We would be having the next conclave from 4 to 6 October this year, and we would welcome all of you for that. I finish here. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, we would once again reiterate the time limit. We have to stick to 3 minutes. Now I'd request Mr. Sanjay Kumar, President, Geospatial World, to kindly make his address.
Thank you very much and very good afternoon. Thank you to Dr. Somnath and Dr. Pawan for giving us this opportunity to talk about. I will be talking on behalf of the global geospatial community, a community which is more on to the downstream applications of space infrastructure, and my title would be more about space infrastructure and geospatial value for the world economy and society. Looking at what's happening around us is a lot of change which is on the rise is climate change, disasters, wasteland, or inflation. And the consequence of that is depleting agrofields, water scarcity, depleting natural resources, flora and fauna, and very important, depleting wealth of the nations. Especially in the last 3-4 years, a lot of wealth has gone away from us. So how do we deal with this situation? It's all about resilience. And resilience of all kinds, be it economic, be it social, be it environmental, be it infrastructure, cultural, or human, diversity, equity. These are the kind of resilience the transition is going on currently around us. So what is the role of space and geospatial infrastructure in that? Geospatial infrastructure and space help you measure, model, monitor, and manage what? And the output is in the form of productivity. It does help you increase productivity, efficiency, transparency, and compliance. And these are very important topics. And actually, when you talk about sustainability of everything, the compliance and transparency are equally important tool of sustainability of everything. And that's where the use of technology for productivity and efficiency is what leads to the economic growth, what leads to the sustainability of everything. Looking at geospace, the foundation of the digital economy. Geospace is actually the foundation. Today we live in a digital age and everything is dependent on geospatial technology and space infrastructure. What we help to do is describe the problem, diagnose the problem, predict the solutions, and then prescribe how to address that. This is the kind of workflow cycle we have to find hindsight, insight, and foresight. And that is how the economy is growing. That is how the businesses are using this technology across huge enterprises. You just say so many businesses are just dependent on the power of location, power of GNSS. PNT is inside every digital device of this world. And if the PNT is messed up, all of us are messed up. I'm telling about the economic impact. And what is that impact happening around us is that impact is transitioning our industry as a whole. The industry which was seen as a technology, the industry which was seen as a laboratory or a government function is an industry. So now you don't hesitate in saying that space is an industry or a geospatial is an industry in itself. And that is the kind of transaction taking place. And why this market map talks about is the fact that we have GIS and analytics, Earth observation, GNSS and positioning, frontier technologies, infrastructure modeling, solutions and system integrators, and the new kid on the block is the consulting firms. I can share these slides. I know it is not visible, but that is how the global geospatial and space market is organized. And look at the kind of companies, how they are playing into different parts of the role, and that's what we make a solution. And this slide, it talks about the $202 billion of investment in the last 3 years around geospatial and space. I heard about $100 billion investment, which has been said by various speakers in this summit. But where does other $102 billion comes in? That other $102 billion comes in actually from the location and geospatial investments. Host of investments is going on across the location companies, across the 3D modeling companies, across the indoor GIS companies, across the every aspect of living where we are making use of this technology. This industry is actually growing nowhere less than 17 to 20% CAGR every year. Just depends how do you want to define, how do you want to scope it up. That is what is the scope and definition is what makes you believe or not believe, or rather further believe. So global geospatial industry market currently is about $512 billion, out of which this includes GNSS and Earth observation as well. And let me tell you that 65 to 70% of this market is driven out of GNSS and Earth observation. And GNSS is almost 55% of that model. We give a lot of emphasis on Earth observation, but if you look at the actual uses of the space technology for the citizens or the consumers or the businesses or the security, GNSS is that the driving force. GNSS is the driving force, I want to tell you. And this is growing at the stage of about 14%. I have a caveat to share. When somebody says that, geospatial space economy is about $1 trillion going to be in 2030, I actually disagree. Space economy right now is already $1.7 trillion. But depends on how do you want to define that. Do you take all the applications, which is Uber or Airbnb or Zomato or all those applications and their business values, do you take them into account as part of your economy? Yes. 35 billion deliveries have taken place in India in last 1 year. 35 billion deliveries means what? Every delivery is based on the location. Every delivery is based on the indoor map. Every delivery is based on the 3D modeling. That's what it is. And this is a published figure. We have just a detailed exercise on this, and you have no hesitation in saying that this data is very, very correct. And the economic impact. Today itself, $7.5 trillion of economic impact. We as a profession, as a holistic profession, we make a $7.5 trillion economic impact. I'll just take 1 more minute or 30 seconds to say that why it is important that we actually talk about safety, sovereignty, and trade of space infrastructure. We heard about sustainability of space. We heard about the threats around that. If safety, sovereignty, and trade of space is not taken into account now, all this will be reversed. One bad actor, I already have seen, couple of bad actors can take it so backward that we all would be starting living into an age which we were about 20 years back. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now going to request PT Pacific Satellite Nusantara, Indonesia, and to all the speakers, the presenters, I'd like to inform you once again now that we have a buzzer which is going to sound at the end of 2 minutes, 30 seconds. And so that will alert you that you have 30 seconds remaining. You will also have on the top right of all screens the countdown timer running so that you're aware of time. Let me now invite PT Pacific Satellite Nusantara, Indonesia. Sir, you can also do it from here. Is it quicker?
Before it starts, just for the knowledge of people from outside India, one of the areas where India has made significant opening up in this year is in the data availability. Geospatial policy was launched earlier the year and space policy, and both have now made the space data very easily accessible to anyone and everyone. And there's no approval required of any kind for data below 30 centimeter resolution or data less than 30 centimeter resolution.
Thank you very much for ladies and gentlemen for the time and for the head of delegation. We are from Pacific Satellite Nusantara. We are a private company in Indonesia. Actually, is number 2 for satellite. Usually the number 1 is PT Telkom, is state-owned. But we are growing step by step. Okay, next one. Oh, sorry. So we already 32 years. 1991, PSN is being as a startup at the time. Then we are operating for the beginning as a incline orbit satellite because we don't have money. So we are, but we try to giving solution in the rural area with the motorized antenna and everything's underdeveloped by ourselves to make it incline as a business. And then the second in 2000. We are together with Lockheed Martin is become MSS, Mobile Satellite Services, at the time as for L-band. And then 2009, we are one of the biggest become cellular backhaul for the GSM using satellite, at that time still using C-band. And 2016, we are complete MBO, means management by objective, means we are finished our financings, we changed our management. So then from that time, we have
the recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with
all the platform of PSN.
the tenure of the Constituent Assembly, which has to end,
start Nusantara 1. This is
my lord, with the
first,
framing of the Constitution
SDS,
for the state.
For Indonesia, even already.
It is not as if, my lord,
at
the
that time.
Constitution
And then after that,
contemplates a Constituent
2020,
Assembly for
we
any
launched
purpose other than
Nusantara
the
2
framing of the
from,
Constitution for the
this is
state as such.
collaboration with China.
Therefore, my lords,
2019 is collaboration with SSM,
one of the termini
US, thank you.
which your
And
lordships
also
were referring
in,
to,
several weeks ago, we just launched the
there are two terminus echo, my lord, insofar as
Satellite Republic Indonesia. This is
the Constituent
first
Assembly is
collaboration
concerned,
with
going by
government,
sub-article 2
150
and the
each.
proviso.
And then the next, we hope the second
One is the
largest,
convening of the
160
Constituent
gigabits,
Assembly,
per second with Boeing. Okay, next.
and the other is the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly.
This is
The
our,
proviso merely does not say
constellation.
Constituent Assembly of the state.
Nusantara 1, Nusantara 2, Nusantara 3,
It
and
says
Nusantara
Constituent
5,
Assembly of
and
the
we
state
hope,
referred
that
to in
Nusantara
clause
2
2.
is failed because of rocket, and then we hope by this year
Clause
our
2
capacity
says
will be
Constituent
300
Assembly for
gigabit
the
per
purpose of
second,
framing the
and we are
Constitution.
still designing another satellite. Our target by 2
Therefore, the
years
tenure
more
of the
is,
Constituent
like,
Assembly
600 gigabit per second.
Is inbuilt, my lord, into sub-article
This
2
is
and
our
the proviso as well.
payload and capacity.
If
Okay,
therefore, my lord, the
enough,
triggering factor,
okay, finish. Basically, we are
as per the
changed
proviso
to
to Article
K-band from C-band
373,
from KU, then we change because the capacity not enough
for the
anymore.
President to issue a
And
public
then,
notification either
because
abrogating
I'm a
it
head Secretary General for
or, my lord,
Satellite
declaring that
Association
it will
in
be
Indonesia,
operative only with such
Indonesia
exceptions
is
and
growing
modifications,
like 65% only
is a
for the
recommendation of the
satellite.
Constituent
So
Assembly
satellite industry in Indonesia
of the
is,
state referred to in
is
clause
a very
2.
high increase. Thank you very
It
much.
has to be inferred, in my respectful submission,
Thank you very much, sir, for staying close to your time limit.
that the
Ladies and
triggering
gentlemen, since we
factor
have over 50
would be alive and
presentations, I request you
operative
to please stick to time limits. We have to
only
complete all the
till such time
presentations, and I'm
as
now
the
going to request
Constituent
from
Assembly
Space
is
Angel
alive.
Australia,
And this is
Mr. Ram
an
Kupupam,
inference, my lord,
join
which I
us
beg
on
to
the podium.
infer,
Also, I
and
request
which I
all
commend
the
for your
history
lordship's
body members,
acceptance.
people at the back, to take front seats. The front seats are empty. We will take the country placards away.
Is
very
inbuilt
shortly.
into sub-article
Always
2
invite you to come
and the
take these front
proviso.
seats. Sir. This is your clicker.
That's why, my lord, the crucial words Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2 need not have been that way.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
But when sub-article 2 says,
Chairman
before
of
the
ISRO,
Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution of India.
I'd like to keep the...
Therefore, my lord, even originally, it was contemplated that this Constituent Assembly
Our
for the
project
state
from Space Angels
will have no function other than, my lord, or will be functus officio once the Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened.
Provide rapid rocket launches.
That, my lord, it's a historically recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself
The
in
vision is
1957
to,
itself. That's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso,
together as a public-private partnership,
the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated
as
as
well as the federal government in regards to
being available coterminous with
our
the life of the
project is currently
Constituent
listed
Assembly
on the
referred to in
WION
sub-article 2,
government website at the moment.
and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any
The way we see our supply chain as well as collaboration.
significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state
how this
is
looks
formed.
like. In terms of shipping routes into
But, my
Australia,
lord, it cannot, under any
three
interpretative tool,
metropolises, pretty much Perth is the entry point, and then it goes through.
give
right
fodder
to
to
Queensland, and then
to a
out.
submission
The last exit point is through Western Australia.
that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate, Article 370,
That's
sub-article
essentially
3,
where the southern polar launch location.
would also cease to be operative once the proviso becomes inoperative.
Launch site as well. In terms of the value proposition in regards to the area.
My lord, ideally,
If you look at the area, we have about 450 square kilometers. of
ideally, my lord, the
on-site
proviso
capacity
could have been,
capability. The
deleted
airspace is very clear. There's no.
after
marine
the,
parks at
after
moment.
the
And in
dissolution
terms
of the
launch
Constituent Assembly for the
aspects,
state.
areas and trajectories is between 51 and 100.
That's a different matter, my lord. One need not get into that hypothesis at all.
Launch in terms of
But
across
it
the
cannot
country,
be
because in
contented
terms of population, there's really a very low population.
that the power of the president vouchsafed under
And so
Article
why a filling space
373
per corridor, key
would
aspect,
cease to be available
real estate agents,
because the proviso is no longer available to be
low
operated.
impact on commercial aviation, low impact on launching and landing.
In my respectful submission, the proviso itself contemplates
So we're looking at environmental and social
that
impact.
the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly, Lord, whatever is the content of the recommendatory power or not, Lord, it's a different matter, I think. Enough submissions have been made on that. But the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly
Strong.
was intended even originally to be coterminous with the
Very much,
life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the state was convened.
economic impact to the world, to the region, and there's a lot of federal and state funding available, including private funding going on at the moment. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, sir. And before
Lord,
I invite
my
the next
written
speaker, I'm
submissions
going to
are at
invite the next 5 to come and
pages
speak
400 to
the
411, my lord, of
Aviation
volume
France.
3.
So from Dassault Aviation, I request
401 to
the
411 of
delegate,
volume 3.
esteemed delegate to please join us here. The Exploration Company, we already have our delegate here.
411 to
Share my space
401
France,
to
we are now delighted.
411.
And with that, I now request Dr. Abhilash
My lord, this
Chandra,
aspect has been
CPRN
dealt with,
Australia,
my lord.
to please make his
I won't therefore take up more time of your lordships on this aspect.
And namaskar, everyone. Dr. Somnath, Chairman of ISRO, Dr. Goenka, Chairman of InSpace. I'd like to thank you for inviting me here to be part of G20. Past 24 hours have been amazing, and I really want to thank everybody for that.
Lord, paragraphs 1 to 4 I have dealt with this.
My background, my name is Abhilash Chandra. I'm Indian by descent, 3 generations removed from India, but India is still in my heart. I live in Australia now, so I've got the best of both worlds. I'm a little bit different to most people here. I'm a practicing vascular general and military surgeon. This is my 23rd year of service in the Australian Army. I've been an infantry soldier.
Lord, the next submission, my lord, would be
senior medical officer
on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there
also an
are
academic, so
two, my lord,
ESA and Future Industries Institute.
papers, my lord,
And
which
I'm also the founder and
your lordships may kindly have a look at,
Sabrin Group of
juxtaposed
companies.
with each other.
This background gives
My lord,
me
one is the
great
opening
opportunity
remarks
to
of
try
Dr.
and help
Ambedkar,
deliver better healthcare to
my
those
lord, which your lordships will find in
are in the
volume
world
8 of the
needed
compilation
most.
of documents.
As we all know,
Okay,
50%
since you're
of
beginning a
the
new
global
point on
population do
federalism,
not have
should we take it
access
up
to
on
adequate
Monday?
health
Very
care.
well.
So that
The top left
Very-
picture on this slide
Lord, I'll
shows
still
how
maintain the
the
timeline.
distribution of healthcare is globally.
We are always
Darker
conscious
areas
of how you are
areas that
generally in
do
the
not
court,
have
so we don't expect
enough,
anything different. You'll be
access to
precise and
healthcare.
always
I'm
very,
grateful.
very
At this point,
focused.
I'd
We
make
expect that as
my
usual.
I'm
purpose
Thank
to try
you.
and bring
My Lord,
better
there was one
healthcare
request, my
faster
Lord, Lordship,
to
if
all
your
people
Lordships
who
could
really
consider,
need it.
because it
I've
fell
been
from your
developing,
Lordships, my Lord,
the Sabrin e-life pod,
would it be possible for your
basically
Lordships to
transportable life
convene at 10
sustaining
o'clock
pod
on Monday so
can
that we get
provide
3 hours?
Lord, Mr.
an
Nataraj
integrated
had, my Lord, 10
emergency
minutes of
ICU and
submissions. A
operating
new
theatre
point.
capability. It can be transported by land, air, space, including the littoral zone, by a variety of different vehicles, which includes trucks, trains, planes,
Dear
helicopters,
circumstance for today,
amphibious
we have given you
vehicles
full
and
half day now.
boats.
Very good.
And when we
Lord,
start
that,
into
Mr.
colonizing
Nataraj would like to have 10
environments
minutes.
like lunar surface and Mars
Two
surface,
young, two other
I
people
want to
who
try
will,
and
I
have
know your
the
Lordships would not.
We'll come back.
Not so young
our
can
people
divide the time
on
period between
extraterrestrial
10:30 and 1
environments.
10:31. At the same time, I know that
E-life pod is
everybody has
designed
worked
to
very
have
hard. We
better
wouldn't
diagnostic
Therefore,
deprive,
and
deprive
some
even
of
at least
them
5
have-
minutes of time.
Lord,
to
some
the
of them
We'll
have
start
worked
off
since
with
10
ultrasound
years.
and X-ray.
Let them
Future
have, Lord, their
generations will have
day in the
CT
court, my Lord,
scans.
maybe
We'll
for
have
some
Sure,
time.
I'm
capability
sure
of
that the
managing
seniors who
airways,
precede them
transfusing
will
blood,
give them some time
and
so that they
performing
have that
No,
surgery.
no, we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example,
Advanced
Mr.
telehealth
Tanwani is also a research scholar.
It'll
Who?
be built according to
Mr.
United
Tanwani,
Nations
Mr. Rahul
Sustainable
Tanwani
Food
has been
Development.
Tanwani,
spending.
Mr. Rajput, they
I
have been
want to
working
work
since
with
many
you to
years.
try
Certainly
and
give
build
them
Whatever
the
they can
e-life pod.
contribute.
My goal is to try and get the e-life pod to not only be useful for the Gaganyaan
sure you'll be able to
projects in
We'll do that.
future,
We'll do.
but
We
also
won't
try
exceed
and
the time.
provide better
We'll finish
healthcare
by
for India
Monday,
and the
1
world's
o'clock or
poorest
whatever
as
is the
soon as
time that your
possible,
Lordships are.
1 o'clock.
being in line with the
So we'll
one
wrap it
earth,
up
one
on
family,
Monday
one
for
future.
this side at 1 o'clock.
These are
And
my
then
contact
in the
details.
afternoon, we'll
Please
start the
feel
rejoining.
Very
to
good.
contact me
Grateful.
with any
Grateful to
questions
you.
or queries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. May I invite Dassault Aviation France, Mr. Philippe Da Silva.
So good afternoon. Okay, and thank you for this opportunity to be with you today. I represent Dassault Aviation, a French company, leader and pioneer in the aerospace industry, both in military and in commercial sectors. And we have in this domain a very long history of cooperation with India. In the space sector, we are primarily focused on the design of reusable space planes and lifting bodies, which are at the crossroad of aeronautics and space, and which can benefit the most from mature aeronautical technologies. And we have been involved in many spacecraft projects since the 60s, ESA programs, NASA program also. And in all these programs, we have always been committed to apply our proven technical aeronautic skills, making Dassault Aviation a unique player in the space sector. So we believe in synergies between space and aviation, and we believe these synergies will become increasingly strong, particularly to meet the growing needs of the commercial sectors. Many of today's space sector challenges are indeed those that aeronautics sector was able to address yesterday. That is what we did over this last century. I'm talking about reactivity, reusability, flexibility, reliability, and of course safety. And we believe that such vehicles, such space planes, is a smart and relevant solution to address these challenges. So space planes are indeed a missing asset of the global space chain value. I was just talking about technical challenge, but space planes also bring key operational capabilities, such as return from orbit, which is still poorly addressed today, and for which we need to come up with more innovative concepts. Because the need to down mass is going to grow, whether it's people with development of manned flights, but also microgravity experiments, lunar samples, and we are working on such concepts in Dassault Aviation, because tomorrow it will no longer be a question of returning passenger and resources or equipment in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, but of operating on hourly schedules, returning as do airplanes at conventional airports, and using existing infrastructures. So these are some examples of all the capabilities that can address such orbital space plane. I won't go, we don't have time, but it's transport, cargo transportations, manned flights, and in-service orbit, and a lot of applications. Regarding our skills are a continuation of aviation technologies. We are above all a global architect and system integrator, mastering all the key technological skills for design, development, testing, production, certification, support of complex air system. And we have extended these key aeronautical skills to the space domain as an extension of the flight domain, faster and higher. As conclusion, I will say that over the past 10 years, the global space sector has undergone an unprecedented transformation and expansion, and as a player in aerospace innovation for over a century, Dassault sees this transformation as a great opportunity. An opportunity to meet new challenges, to make space more accessible, more responsive, more safe, more reliable, and also less expensive. And we are convinced that we have much to contribute to this transformation, and we seize a real opportunity to develop fruitful cooperations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We have next the Exploration Company France, Ms. Helen Huby.
Okay. So, hello everyone, and I'm going to bring you in space. Our mission is to democratize space exploration, so to make it affordable, that is to say accessible from a price point of view, to make it sustainable. We are the first in the world to fly a space capsule with green propellant, and to make it open. We are the first in the world to open source our interface, and we want to be able to serve in a cooperative manner International Space Station, American Space Station, and also Chinese Space Station one day. So you see here basically our vehicle, our vision. Our vision is to make basically orbital vehicle like Volkswagen makes car. Our vehicles are made out of 2 bricks, 1 capsule, which fly to space station around the Earth, fly to space station around the moon, and then comes back and then can be reused, flying with green propellant, a technology that we develop in-house. And the second brick is the trunk, the service module, empty or filled with cargo when we go to space station around the Earth, and when we go to the moon we need additional energy, so we develop in-house a cryogenic oxygen methane engine that enable us to go to the gateway and or to land at lunar surface, and that engine can be refueled in orbit, so hence we can use, for example, the Starship capability as a tank to be able to perform several missions. So these are like cool design, but probably you want to know where we are today. So we started working in September 21. Today we're actually 82 employees because we grew since that slide, so since last week. We've raised around about 55 million euro, which is a record in Europe. We closed the biggest Series A ever raised in Europe by a space company. That when there were war in Ukraine and double-digit inflation. And we are flying this year in October together with India. So thank you then to Radhakrishnan for the excellent cooperation that we've been able to set up with him. So we fly our first baby capsule second week of October, and it will be launched by PSLV. And in 24, we fly our subscale vehicle that will be launched by SpaceX. I want to show you some cool hardware picture, so that you can see that this is real actually. You see on the left-hand side our baby capsule that will be launched here from India, second week of October. You see in the middle the mid-size capsule, which is currently in the manufacturing process. On the bottom of the slide, you see our new integration room in Germany, and you see on the right-hand side the 2 in-house engines that we're developing in-house, green propulsion on the one hand, and oxygen methane for landing at lunar surface. And as a conclusion, I would like to thank again India for this amazing organization and for giving me the opportunity to present to you the Exploration Company, as well as for the great cooperation so that we can launch together this year our first baby capsule, and for the cooperations to come, among them a strong cooperation for the parachute and more to come. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, madam. And with that, I'd like to invite Emeria of France, Mr. Philippe Gauthier.
Good afternoon, everybody. And thank you very much to give us the opportunity with my colleagues to present our industry. I hope I will survive to the buzzer torture. Okay, Emeria in brief. We are a medium-sized company, 70 million of revenue, 400 employees, 3 plants. And to summarize, we have 3 lines of products for space, but not only space, for sky also. Satellites, we design and make small satellite, balloons, and also we have a product line of equipments to make trajectography. Please, next. Oh yes, I have the, I did not understand, excuse me. Up. Okay, fine. We propose small sats. Small sat means satellites which are under 100 kilograms and which address, I would say, 3 market segments. One is connectivity, mainly IoT. We are providing the satellites for a constellation called Kineis in particular. One product line is for Earth observation. And the third one, up to now, is only dedicated to defense application, is for space surveillance, and we are manufacturing right now 2 satellites for the French MOD to be in a geo-orbital orbit. And the purpose of those satellites is going to protect the key assets that the forces have in a geo-orbit. We have also under development a vehicle to take care about transportation of satellites up to geo-orbit. About the balloons. Balloons are systems now which are becoming again, I would say, fashionable. But just focus on the one category of balloons, which are stratospheric balloons. We are developing a maneuvering balloon, which is going to be able to stay at something like 20 kilometers of altitude during 6 months and to stay stable in regards of the ground, so that there will be a lot of applications, Earth observation, telco, and so on, and it will be available in next year, in fact. And I wanted also to be brief to talk about our last baby. We are also investor. We are trying to move also downstreams for space application, and it has been well said in the presentation before that the business is much growing in that arena. And we have created one year ago a startup which is going to focus on the subject of water, inland water, management of the water, prediction of disasters, with 2 segments. We are going to put in orbit a constellation of satellites to make certain measurements daily on 30,000 points on the Earth. And
the recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with
segment,
the tenure of the Constituent Assembly, which has to end
to manage,
my lord, with the framing of the Constitution for the state.
And quantity of water.
It is not as if, my lord, the Constitution contemplates a Constituent Assembly for any purpose other than the framing of the Constitution for the state as such. Therefore, my lords, one of the termini
Very much, sir. And
which your lordships
we are
were
seeing
referring
from
to.
Share My Space, France, Mr. Romain.
There are 2 terminus echo, my lord, insofar as
Good afternoon,
the
everyone.
Constituent
Dear
Assembly is
Chairman, I'm
concerned,
very
going by
honored to
sub-article
be
2
here with you
and
to
the
present
proviso.
to you my company, Share My Space.
One is a
So
convening of the
we are
Constituent
a
Assembly,
French-based company with a global ambition,
and the
we
other is
work
the
in
dissolution
in
of the
field
Constituent
space
Assembly.
surveillance and space operations, safety and security. So
The
we were
proviso
incorporated in
merely does not say
2017
Constituent
for
Assembly
one
of the state.
fundamental reason.
It says
Earth orbit
Constituent
congestion.
Assembly of the state
So now there are
referred to
more and
in
more
clause 2.
satellites in Earth orbits, more and more space debris that are causing increasing
Clause
risks
2
for
says
the
Constituent
sustainability
Assembly
of
for the purpose of
human
framing the
activities in space.
Constitution.
So our fundamental mission is to tackle that.
Therefore, the tenure
So
of the
how
Constituent
do we do
Assembly
it? So we've built a system that we call
is
our
inbuilt, my
orbital
lord, into
information
subarticle
system,
2 and
which is a set of
the proviso
algorithms
as well.
and database architecture, all secured. So we process,
If therefore, my lord, the
ingest,
triggering
process,
factor,
package and distribute high
as
added
per the
value
proviso to
data
Article
for our
373,
customers, who are institutions, military bodies,
for the
and
President to
commercial
issue a
players in the
public
space sector.
notification either abrogating
So we
it
ingest data from various sources.
or, my lord, declaring
so
that it will be operative only
public
with such
sources,
exceptions and
sources
modifications,
from partners, including our customers.
is a recommendation of the
And
Constituent
as a
Assembly
key part of our
of the state
orbital
referred to in
information
clause
system,
2.
we control a network of
It has to be
of
inferred in my
optical
respectful
stations,
submission
scattered around the world. We currently have 4 operational optical stations.
that the triggering factor
And we've actually
would be
designed,
alive and
developed,
operative
deployed,
only till such
the key
time
innovation
as
that we
the
call the
Constituent
multi-telescope
Assembly is
observation
alive. And this
station.
is,
So
this is
it's
an
an
inference,
optical
my lord, which I
system,
beg to
made out of
infer,
4 optical
and which I
telescope-
commend for your lordship's
telescopes that
acceptance.
scan the sky and detect all the objects that cross an observation ring. So it's
Is
a
inbuilt
virtual
into
bit of the
subarticle
radar
2
system would do
and
by
the proviso.
using, optical technology, which
That's why, my
enables
lord, the
us to drive
crucial
the
words
costs
Constituent
down and to
Assembly of the
bridge the
state
gap with the
referred to in
commercial
clause
market.
2 need not have been that
So
way.
we've designed the system
But
to
when
be extremely
subarticle 2
sensitive
says
in-
before the
in
Constituent
LEO,
Assembly for
across
the
all
purpose
orbits,
of
in
framing the
particular in
Constitution
LEO,
of India.
Also very
Therefore, my lord,
accurate,
even
so
originally,
enables
it
us
was
to
contemplated that this
address,
Constituent
a
Assembly for the
wider
state
market. So
will
we
have
can
no
detect all
function
even the
other
smallest
than, my lord,
objects
or will
in
not,
the US
will be
catalog,
functus
both in
officio
LEO
once the
and,
Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened.
So going forward,
That, my lord, it's a historically
so yeah, we've
recognized fact that it
successfully
actually
addressed
dissolved
the
itself
key segments of our
in
market, so
1957
institutions,
itself.
military,
That's a different
and
matter.
commercial players.
But the point is,
We
my lord,
have
for the
50
purpose of the
customers in
proviso,
7 different countries around the globe.
the
And
triggering
we've
factor, my
really
lord, is
managed to
contemplated
package,
as
key products for
being
retail
available
sales.
coterminous with
So
the life of
we
the
are looking
Constituent
forward.
Assembly
First, I'd like to
referred
thank
to in
again,
Subarticle
the
2,
ISRO and CNES for having us
and
here,
therefore, my
and
lord,
we're
it
definitely
ceases
looking
to have
forward
any
to further collaborations with Indian partners. Thank you.
significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is
Thank you
dissolved
very
and
much,
once the
sir.
Constitution of
And,
the
ladies and
state
gentlemen,
is
before I invite the
formed.
next speaker from Leonardo, Italy, we have
But, my lord,
Thales
it
Space
cannot,
lined up. After
under
that, I
any
invite
interpretative
iSpace
tool,
Incorporated, Japan, Sagri, Japan, and Unmanned Exploration Laboratory.
give
Republic of
fodder to
Korea.
a
So let me now
submission
invite from Leonardo, Italy, Mr. Sandro Panagini.
that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate, Article 370, Subarticle 3,
Thank you for the possibility to present Leonardo.
would also cease to be operative once a proviso becomes inoperative.
Space Leonardo activities. As you know, Leonardo is a global company that develops multiple
Lord, ideally-
operational capabilities in the aerospace, defense, and security sector.
Ideally, my lord, the proviso
Offer
could have
high
been
technology solutions for
deleted
military and civilian.
after the
Four business
dissolution
sectors
of the Constituent Assembly for the state.
managed by Leonardo. One is the
That's a different matter, my lord. One need not get into that hypothesis at all.
like the helicopter division,
But
and
it cannot be contented
operation and joint ventures.
that the power of the President vouchsafed under Article 373
Space is
would cease to be available
acting as
because the proviso is no longer available to be operated
but
upon.
through also the Telespazio, the joint venture with Telespazio, which
In my respectful submission, the proviso itself contemplates
which is
that the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly, my lord, whatever is the content of the recommendatory power or not, my lord, it's a different matter, I think. Enough submissions have been made on that. But the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly
to mention that
was intended even originally to be coterminous with the
Leonardo is owned by Ministry of
life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the state was condemned.
on retail market through institutional investor and on the market. 90% of the institutional float is international. Space. Leonardo covers the entire value chain of the space industry, from the manufacture of satellites and
Lord,
orbiting
my written
infrastructure
submissions
to
are at
production of high-tech
pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3.
space application and
401 to 411 of volume 3.
propulsion and launching system. Through the joint ventures, Telespazio, satellite
411
services for the
401 to
approach
411.
and in-orbit control in space systems and servicing and application.
My Lord, this aspect has been dealt with. My Lord. I won't therefore take up more time of your lordships on this aspect.
Navigation, Earth observation, probes and rovers for space exploration, and multifunction orbiting modules. Directly, with ordinary resources, Leonardo provides instruments and equipment. Instruments, electro-optical instrument and hyperspectral payloads, laser transmitter and robotic system for space exploration and the study of our planet. And as equipment, photovoltaic panels,
Lord, paragraphs 1 to 4 I have dealt with.
attitude sensor, power distribution system, and orbital micropropulsion. Just to give you an idea of where the equipment and the instruments of Leonardo are in the solar system, we are far of the solar system up to close our system. Just to pick up two of these missions. One old, that is New Horizon, for example, launched in 2006, in which the Star Tracker manufactured and developed by Leonardo, owned the proper engagement.
Lord, the next submission, my Lord, would be on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there are
one of the most recent
two, my Lord,
Jewish mission in which Leonardo
papers, my Lord, which your lordships may kindly have a look at, juxtaposed with each other. My Lord, one is the opening remarks of Dr. Ambedkar, my Lord, which your lordships will find in volume 8 of the compilation of documents.
If you're beginning a new point on federalism, we take it up on Monday.
Very well.
So that
very well.
So those are the capabilities of
Lord, I'll
Leonardo
still
that
maintain
is,
the timeline.
provide a wide range of high reliable solutions.
we are always conscious of how you are generally in the court, so we don't expect anything different. You'll be precise and always very focused. We expect that as usual. Thank you.
My Lord, there was one request, my Lord, lordship, if your lordships could consider, because it fell from your lordships.
Thank
My
you,
Lord,
sir. And may I invite from
would it be
Thales
possible for your lordships to
Vincenzo Jojo.
convene at 10 o'clock on Monday so that we get 3 hours?
Lord, Mr. Nataraj had, my Lord, 10 minutes of submissions. A new point.
Good afternoon, and again, thank you for giving me the possibility to show up what Thales Alenia Space does in space. I could simply start with the statement that says that we do everything but launch.
The circumstance for today,
meaning space
we have given you full half day now.
Telecommunication, Earth
Very
observation,
Lord, Mr. Nataraj would like to have 10 minutes. And two other people who will, I know your lordships would not.
We'll come back.
Not so young can divide the time period between 10:30 and
10:31. At the same time, I know that everybody has worked very hard. We wouldn't deprive even at least 5 minutes of time.
Lord, some of them have worked since 10 years. Let them have, Lord, their day in the court, Lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them will give them some time so that they have that
No,
time.
we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example, Mr. Tanwani is also a research scholar.
Who?
Mr. Tanwani, Mr. Rahul Tanwani has been
Tanwani, Mr. Rajput, they have been working since many years.
Certainly give them
Whatever they can contribute.
Competence of Italy in the radar system. It all started with the Cosmos Skymet.
I'm sure you'll be able to.
We'll do that. We'll do. We won't exceed the time. We'll finish by Monday, 1 o'clock or whatever is the time that your lordships are.
1 o'clock.
So we'll wrap it up on Monday for this side at 1 o'clock, and then in the afternoon we'll start the rejoinder.
Grateful.
Spectral as well as optical observation. We have now developed and we are under a contract to fly constellation for the high resolution radar systems. The reason behind that is the increase time revisit that is very much required by the customers. Satellite ranging in the weight average of 200 kilograms and in a constellation mode. Going to navigation, we are building the second generation of the Galileo system in Europe. Then Air to explore, space to explore. Our heritage starts from Space Lab, therefore we are talking of the 70s, more or less, the 80s, and we've been working on the International Space Station, where we have a major role. I mentioned the fact that Thales Alenia Space has built more than the 50% of the habitable volume. And we are today the major actor in the building of the Lunar Gateway in terms of habitable volume. We have the International Lab, we have the ESPRI module for the resources, we are building the US-led HALO under contract with a US prime, and we are developing under the Italian Space Agency a lunar habitat on the surface. We are also participating to the commercial LEO development with a number of actors. Today, we have contract in place with Axiom, and you see the two modules, flight models being already manufactured in TAS, and we have the Martian mission ExoMars. We already have a satellite flying around Mars. We will land the rover in 2028. Actually, it would have been launched in 2022, but due to the crisis in Ukraine, the launch was delayed for the existing cooperation between Europe and Russia, which was actually destroyed. This being said, we are very much active in trying to look for area of cooperation with India as well as with other countries, including the possibility to localize some of the production that we have. As you see, what we need here is be competitive, and we're trying to do everything allow us to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And now I invite from iSpace Incorporated Japan, Mr. Masayuki Urata.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Masayuki Urata, Sales Officer of iSpace Japan. Today, I would like to give a presentation about our company and our recent mission, and also about our future missions. But before that, so I would like to mention that the keyword is, let's go to the moon together. So this is overview of our company, iSpace. So we were established in 2010 with a long-term vision, Moon Valley 2040. Currently, we have employees with 200 people from over 25 countries located in Japan, USA, and Europe, Luxembourg. So we are developing Lunar Lander and Lunar Rover, and as asset, we have Mission Control Center in Tokyo. And we are providing a payload service. It's a transportation of cargo from the Earth to the moon. The second one is data service. We are providing flight data to the moon and also lunar data. As for the financial achievements, we would like to emphasize that we successfully raised over $200 million before IPO. And in this April, we succeeded in IPO in Tokyo Stock Exchange growth market. So it is the first IPO as a startup space startup in Japan. And this is the overall overview of our mission 1. So we launched our first lander to the moon last year in December, and we attempted lunar landing in April 2003. Yeah. So unfortunately, the result was ended as hard landing. But it is very important that we identified the root cause of the hard landing as a failure, and we can reflect such lessons learned, utilize lessons learned for the future missions. Yeah. Then as you can see, so we successfully took some pictures in the lunar orbit, and also there's some analysis as a hard landings. Then you can check our detailed analysis in the YouTube, but it is a kind of software error related to altitude measurement. Yeah. Then this is our future missions. We have 2 future missions now specifically planned. Yeah. So mission 2, we are going to use the same lander, and as for mission 3, we are going to upgrade for commercialization, which has 500 kilograms payload capacity. We are going to launch Mission 2 in 2024, next year, and Mission 3 in 2025. As for Mission 3, we got a big contract from NASA under CLIPS program, and we are going to bring 100 kilograms of NASA's payload to the far side of the moon.
we are going to bring two commercial communication satellites together with this lander. Yeah, if you are interested in a lunar mission in the future, so please kindly contact us and let's go to the moon together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. And before I invite the next presenter, may I invite presenters, the next set of 5 presenters to please come and take seats close to the podium. Unmanned Exploration Laboratory, Republic of Korea, Glabcosmos, Russia, Inmarsat, UK, Mithira Global Communications Limited, and Voyager Space, USA. And now I invite from Sagri, Japan, Mr. Satoshi Nagata. Green button for the going ahead.
Okay. Nice to meet you all. And at first, I'd like to thank you to ISRO team and the admin team for today. Nice to meet you. I'm Satoshi Nagata from Sagri. Our company from Japan, established in 2018. Actually, we have a company in Bangalore here. Actually, I'm leading the Indian engineering and sales team. I'm leading from India. Yeah. Actually, our company in our world, we are utilizing the satellite images, AI, mapping technologies. We are utilizing these 3 key features of technology and supporting farmers in emerging countries. Okay, this is an example of our technology. We have 2 key features. Yeah, one is the auto mapping of farmland. We are, for example, in emerging countries, farmland is scattered. Well, for example, in Himachal Pradesh in India, scattered and hilly, it's very difficult to track. But however, if we use Sagri technology, we can map easily. Based on this mapping, after that, actually we can check the total carbon, available nitrogen, pH/cc, main chemical indexes we can track. Maybe based on these analysis, we can optimize the fertilizer. Actually, in this scenario on the world, fertilizer cost is 2 to 3 times, and also the limitation of the supply of nitrogen. That's why farmers are suffering of the high cost of fertilizer here. To deal with these challenges, we Sagri can provide the optimization of fertilizer based on satellite image analysis. Then, after these analysis, we can support farmers like these, based on satellite image analysis of farmland. Then we can suggest farmers to please decrease chemical fertilizer. Based on that decrease, farmers can decrease the greenhouse gases from the farmland. Based on these degrees of greenhouse gases, we can contribute also to the a carbon neutral situation in the world. Then after that, farmers can get the carbon credit revenue from in the voluntary credit market. Yeah. In this concept, we Sagri working actually from India and Kenya, Thailand, Vietnam, all over the world. We'd like to work together. So and friends from the world today, if you would like to partnership with us, yeah, we are open today. And also, I'm based in Bangalore, so maybe whenever you are free, we can have a call each other. Thank you for listening. Dhanyabad.
Thank you very much, sir. And ladies and gentlemen, next we have from Unmanned Exploration Laboratory, Korea, Mr. Yongsub Kim. There you go, sir.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Yongsub Kim, project manager at Unmanned Exploration Laboratory. UAL is a South Korean robotics startup specializing in making rovers for space. UAL provides many different robotic platforms for use in exploration. Our catalog includes conventional aerial drones, rovers on ground vehicles, as well as simulation chambers to test lunar equipment. As a leading startup aligned with Korea's national space policy, we have partnered with key national research institutes in aerospace, construction, and nuclear energy, and are paired with multiple government projects for space exploration. We have built and tested multiple prototypes of lunar rovers. We have small few kilogram two-wheel rovers to large four-wheel rovers with dedicated suspensions and solar panels. We are also experimenting with foldable chassis and various technologies that allow our rovers to be packed into small space and be available for more missions. And this is our foldable wheel rovers, and we can downsizing our wheels like this mechanism. Okay. We also have
The recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with
3D printing technology that
the
can
tenure of the Constituent Assembly,
lunar
which has to
regolith
end,
and manufacture
my lord, with the framing of the Constitution for the
lunar
state.
soil for experimenting lunar
It is not as if, my lord, the Constitution contemplates a Constituent Assembly for any purpose other than the framing of the Constitution for the state as such.
various partners.
Therefore, my lord, see,
Public
one of the
and private
termini
sector. We have
which your lordships
institutions
were referring
with
to,
whom we are developing a lot of these foldable structures. These
there are two
partners
terminus
are
echo, my lord,
eager
insofar
for
as
us to gain access to advanced
the Constituent Assembly is
technologies
concerned,
such as
going by
materials
sub-article 2
testing in their
and the
space
proviso.
environment. Our
One is the
startup
convening
located
of the
both
Constituent
capital
Assembly,
Seoul as well as factory in a nearby city
and
of
the other is the
Busan.
dissolution of the Constituent Assembly.
The pride of our facilities
The
is a
proviso
lunar
merely does not say
environment
Constituent
that
Assembly of the state.
of 10 square meters.
It says
here in
Constituent
Lunar
Assembly of the
Laboratories,
state
Finland.
referred to in clause 2.
Also, we are collaborating with science YouTuber Mina
Clause 2
to
says
increase
Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution.
interest in the space industry in the Korea.
Therefore, the tenure of the Constituent
If
Assembly
you have any questions, feel free to contact us.
is
in the
inbuilt, my lord,
email
into
address.
sub-article 2
Thank you
and
for
the proviso as well.
Thank you for hearing my presentation.
If therefore, my lord, the triggering factor, as per the proviso to Article
Thank you very much,
373,
sir. And with that, now let me invite
for the
from
President to issue a
Black
public
Cosmos,
notification,
Russia, Mr.
either abrogating it or, my lord, declaring that it will be operative only with such exceptions and modifications,
Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I didn't bring any.
is a recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. It has to be inferred, in my respectful submission,
This is a very complicated chart that just.
that the triggering factor would be alive and operative
All of us are.
only till such time as the Constituent Assembly is alive. And this is an inference, my lord, which I beg to infer and which I commend for your lordship's acceptance.
This is a tribute to what the Director General of.
Is inbuilt into sub-article 2 and the proviso.
In fact, not the future, but the.
That's why, my lord, the crucial words Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2 need not have been that way.
Already been launched.
But when sub-article 2 says before the Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution of India,
Cosmos is a 100.
therefore, my lord, even originally it was contemplated that this Constituent Assembly for the state will have no function other than, my lord, or will be functus officio once the Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened. That, my lord, it's a historically recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself in 1957 itself. But that's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso,
In fact, one of the last.
the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated as
We organized the launch
being
of-
available coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly referred to in sub-article 2,
Commercial space flights.
and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any
Will be in 2025. By the way, speaking about.
significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed.
Booked already, but we have every year at least.
But, my lord, it cannot, under any interpretative tool,
payload on a federal Russian launch. Finally, I would
give
like
fodder
to,
to a submission
commend ISRO for the great work it is doing.
that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate Article 370 sub-article 3,
Turning to the private space.
would also cease to be operative once a proviso becomes inoperative.
to tackle interaction with the Russian private companies. So,
My lord, ideally,
summarizing, we act as a one-stop shop for the whole.
ideally, my lord, the proviso
We're
could have been
your
deleted
contacts with a very
after
complicated
the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly for the
sometimes
state.
bureaucracy, as well known.
That's a different matter, my lord. One need not get into that hypothesis at all.
Address us.
But it cannot be contended
Thank you very much.
that the power of the president vouchsafed under Article
I'd like to
373
now invite from Inmarsat
would
UK,
cease to be
Dr.
available
Sharma.
because the proviso is no longer available to be operated upon. In my respectful submission, the proviso itself contemplates that the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly, my lord, whatever is the content of the recommendatory power or not, my lord, it's a different matter. I think enough submissions have been made on that. But the recommendatory power of the Constituent Assembly was intended even originally to be coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the state was condemned.
Acquired by Viasat, which makes us one of the largest satellite service provider in the world. The mission of the company is to connect the world because we believe whenever everyone is connected, the possibilities are limitless.
My lord, my written submissions are at pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3. 401 to 411 of volume 3.
And the enterprise value of Viasat becomes
411 to 401 to 411.
We have a constellation of 19 satellites in Ka band.
My lord, this aspect has been dealt with, my lord. I won't therefore take up more time of your lordships on this aspect.
Satellites, including 2 satellites in HEO orbit to give connectivity in the Arctic region. The market which we will be addressing by 2030 would be $1 trillion market. And we have around 8,000 employees, out of which 300 employees are based out of India. And we also have global offices in almost 90 plus.
Lord, paragraphs 1 to 4 I have dealt with
3 offices in India, which includes Chennai, Hyderabad, and New Delhi. And we have patents of 2,500 plus jointly. The focus of Viasat entity would be on fixed satellite services, giving high throughput broadband connectivity to consumers, strategic government services, as well as mobility services. The key markets would be commercial aviation, business aviation, maritime.
Lord, the next submission, my lord, would be on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there are 2, my lord,
We also believe the future lies towards broadband.
papers, my lord, which
That's why the focus.
your lordships may kindly have a look at, juxtaposed with each other.
Government maritime.
My lord, one is the opening remarks of Dr. Ambedkar,
Tracking and monitoring and analytics.
my lord, which your lordships will find in volume 8 of the compilation of documents.
If you're beginning a new point on federalism, should we take it up on Monday?
Very well.
So that
Believe protecting
very
environment is important for every citizen.
Lord, I'll still
Community and charitable
maintain the
giving
timeline.
And diversity and
we are always conscious of how you are generally in the court, so we don't expect anything different. You'll be precise and always very focused. We expect that as usual. Thank you.
My lord, there was one request, my lord, lordship, if your lordships could consider, because it fell from your lordships, my lord, would it be possible for your lordships to convene at 10 o'clock on Monday so that we get 3 hours?
Lord, Mr. Nataraj had, my lord, 10 minutes of submissions. A new point.
We're also giving connectivity across board to defense forces, which includes swift broadband as well as fleet broadband and Inmarsat C services. That's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Circumstance for today, we've given you full half day now.
Very good.
Lord, Mr. Nataraj would like to have 10 minutes. And 2 other people who will, I know your lordship would not.
We'll come back.
Not so young can divide the time period between 10:30 and 1.
At the same time, I know that everybody has worked very hard. We wouldn't
Therefore,
deprive even at least 5 minutes of time.
Lord, some of them have worked since 10 years. Let them have, Lord, their day in the court, my lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them will give them some time so that they have that time.
No, we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example, Tanwani is also a research scholar.
Who?
Mr. Tanwani, Mr. Rahul Tanwani has been
Tanwani, Mr. Rajput, they have been working since many years.
We'll certainly give
But
them
whatever they can contribute.
Instead of every time, anywhere. As is steerable
I'm
beams,
sure you'll be able to.
We'll do that. We'll
satellites
do.
are at
We won't exceed the time. We'll finish by
19,500
Monday,
kilometers.
1 o'clock or whatever is the time that your lordship, sir.
1 o'clock.
So we'll wrap it up on Monday for this side at 1 o'clock, and then in the afternoon we'll start the rejoin.
Very
grateful.
Grateful to you.
In December, starting December 2024. The other part, which is very important for us, is the low-cost terminal which we are developing. It's a terminal which is developed under the leadership of Methera with a consortium of some companies. The design is at this moment proprietary, working for KA band, but I'm pleased to announce that very soon this terminal will evolve to switch over to the other bands, including Geo, LEO, and other bands. This terminal has two usage, one for the residential users, up to 300 Mbps using 60 centimeter antenna, and 1.2 meter antenna giving up to 1 Gbps speed. These are our main markets, starting with the residential, enterprise broadband services, GSM backhaul, government for digital rollouts, services including the earth monitoring, military and defense, other data and communication services, disaster recovery, and rescue services. Just to conclude, we are a bridge between bridge between Geo and LEO, and we are totally aligned to what has been mentioned every time, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which is one earth, one space, one family. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir, for that very crisp presentation. And I'd like to now call on, before I call on Voyager Space USA, may I also invite the esteemed delegates from Eliana, Singapore, Indra, Spain, Satlantis, Spain, PLD Space, Spain, and Hindustan Aeronautics Limited to be closer to the podium. And I invite Mr. Marshall Smith from Voyager Space.
Thank you. All right, thank you. We'll go ahead and get started. So at Voyager Space, I talked a little earlier, we're building the infrastructure. We're trying to have inventive space infrastructure and diversified technical solutions. A lot of mumbo jumbo there, but what I'll say is, this is what we're mostly known for is Starlab. Starlab is, Voyager is building the first commercial space station. We will launch this all in one single launch. It is a fairly large system. It's about 40% of the ISS pressurized volume. It has a power propulsion system, 60 kilowatt power propulsion system. The actual research system that's in the vehicle will have 100% of the payload capacity of the ISS actually, and then some. We'll have a robotic arm and a science airlock showing, actually that's our Bishop airlock that is on the ISS now. And then we'll have an equipment bay behind it where we'll keep most of the equipment. So, this is a very large system, much larger than anything that has been launched in the previous systems as we move forward. We eventually will add on one or two modules to it, but in the long run, we plan to launch multiple of these stations because we really want to look at the focus of what we're doing. We want stations to be focused on research. We want them to be focused on manufacturing, maybe tourism, other things like that. They all have different needs, different types of customers who really don't play well together. You don't want to be doing advanced microgravity research next to somebody who wants to play their music really loud as they move forward, or doing manufacturing that's dirty. The other things that we do that maybe aren't as well known is we're into orbital servicing and space sustainability, spacecraft communication systems, propulsion systems, both solid and electric systems, Earth and space visualization, ISR, and other advanced solutions. So just really quickly, one of the things we're looking at is how do we recycle upper stages to be used as outposts for Earth observation or other types of research that folks might want to do as we move forward. Airlocks, of course, we do the Bishop airlock now. It's the first commercial real estate that became a perfect permanent addition to the ISS in 2020. We used the Bishop Airlock to move it. It's actually very large. It's a little bit, I can stand up inside it, and we put payloads in it and expose them to the vacuum of space as we move forward. We do launch and mission management systems. NanoRex, one of our companies, has been doing research on the ISS for over a decade. Have launched over 1,500 payloads. We're the largest launcher of payload systems to space with that. Moving on. We're doing orbit servicing and sustainability, refueling systems, those types of things, capture management systems, dog tags, where you can use electropermanent magnets and connect to facilities, connect in space so you can capture them and then either refuel them or remove debris. Communication systems, laser and RF communications. We have been doing RF communications for quite a number of years, as well as laser communications, digital systems, electro-optics, and custom communication systems. As I said, solid electric propulsion systems, and then Earth visualization systems. We have ISR capabilities that we use. And then finally, you know, other solutions that are out there. For example, we're involved with oxygen development on using lunar regolith and other minerals, and how do we go use those, as well as launch pad infrastructures, ground systems, and things like that. So with that, I'll leave it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. And now from Aliena, Singapore, Dr. Mark is going to present. So, the green button is to go.
Sure. Okay. Oh, it's all the way to get. Distinguished delegates, I'm Mark Lim, co-founder and CEO of Aliena. Aliena is a Singapore-based company that aims to provide last-mile mobility solutions for satellites. Aliena is a proud spin-off of Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. We were incorporated in 2018 to seize opportunities presented from the new space renaissance. This includes the improved performance and widespread deployment of small satellites, the observation of satellites operating at lower altitudes, and the shift towards deployment of satellites in small to large constellations. Our core product today is the multi-stage ignition compact Hall thruster, or in short, Music Engine. Music offers cost-effective performance, making it the industry standard for satellite platforms interested in compliance with deorbiting regulations, enabling operations of satellites in constellations, and improvement of satellite performance through operations at very low Earth orbit, VLEO. Just like the melting pot of cultures and innovation in Singapore, Aliena features an international team who have had extended experience working on 7 different international Hall thrusters. We also actively engage in capability development within Singapore by training and mentoring space systems engineers of tomorrow through our internship programs. We have contributed globally through the demonstration of our systems at various laboratories. This includes laboratories at ESA, Stanford, Imperial College London, and Kyushu Institute of Technology in Japan. We have also provided our systems and components to meet some of the frontier R&D needs of numerous research centers pursuing electric propulsion. Now, let me just spend a little bit of time speaking about our missions. We first made waves with the development and deployment of an ultra-low power Hall thruster. This was launched in January 2022 on SpaceX Transporter-3 mission. The system launch is officially the world's lowest power Hall thruster at just 10 watts and offers capability for ignition on demand. The satellite which hosted our system is also the world's smallest satellite to host a Hall effect thruster at just 3U. Our next mission is actually in a couple of weeks' time, and it's an incredible honor for us to be in India now, since the launch will be on the PSLV. In this mission, a 12U satellite will demonstrate our Music Engine as a multimodal engine alongside other systems built internationally. As an international collaboration managed by Aliena Singapore, this cooperation involved the UK for the provision of the satellite bus, as well as Finland for the resistor-jets paired with our Hall thrusters. We are incredibly proud to be providing our engines to a local consortium made up of academic and industry entities that will be flying a small satellite demonstrator at very low Earth orbits, VLEO. This endeavor aims to characterize the environment at VLEO and demonstrate capabilities for data acquisition in VLEO while compensating for drag using our low-power engines. Finally, we'd like to share that we have made history with a UK consortium earlier this year by demonstrating the world's first hull thruster to operate on water as a fuel. Eliana provided a critical enabling subsystem for the thruster testbed, and it was demonstrated to operate nominally in Imperial College London and at the European Space Agency's propulsion laboratory just a few months ago. Now, in conclusion, we'd like to take this opportunity at G20 SELM to highlight that we are extremely keen on forging new partnerships internationally. We also like to explore new mechanisms or collaborative opportunities for us to provide our systems and components to sharpen the edge of your missions. I'm confident that we can go far together, and I'm looking forward to making meaningful partnerships on the sidelines of this event. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, we now go on to Indra, Spain. May I invite Ms. Maria Cristina to kindly make her presentation. There's also a video in her slides, so we'll play that video, and whenever you say, they'll play the video.
Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to stay here, showing a little what Indra company can do for everybody in the world, especially regarding to the space. Indra is a company that more than 56,000 employees around the world, with a presence in more than 46 countries, and with projects in more than 140. Really, we are starting. Here is the video. Please, could you add? Yeah? No. This one. Go to the okay, thank you. Okay, good. Thank you very much. This is our radar for surveillance of the space. Really, the situation regarding the space and the debris that we are suffering every day more and more, we need to have a clear idea about what is going on. Really, the situation every day is more congestive, and we need to know exactly what happened. The space domain awareness is one of the critical areas, and for that, Indra has developed our surveillance radar that with the capability of the coverage of more than 2,000 kilometers. Okay.
The recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with the tenure of the Constituent Assembly, which has to end, my lord, with the framing of the Constitution for the state.
We can try to predict what will be.
It is not as if, my lord, the Constitution contemplates a Constituent Assembly for any purpose other than the framing of the Constitution for the state as such. Therefore, my lord, one of the termini which your lordships were referring to,
from our Spanish Air Force from the end of the 1990s.
There are two terminus echo, my lord, insofar as the Constituent Assembly is concerned, going by sub-article 2 and the proviso.
This is a radar that is contributing to the
one is the convening of the Constituent Assembly,
and is giving all the information to
and the other is the dissolution of the Constituent Assembly.
To predict the re-entries and also to analyze.
The proviso merely does not say Constituent Assembly of the state.
Really, we have a long
It says Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2.
And this is key for us.
Clause 2 says Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution.
In the navigation area, in the control, observation, and space tracking. And
therefore, the tenure of the Constituent Assembly
in all of this, we are using the observation
is inbuilt, my lord, into sub-article 2 and the proviso as well.
In the climate conditions, we are also
if therefore, my lord, the triggering factor,
the emergencies and rescue,
as per the proviso to Article 373,
as more information in the
for the President to issue a public notification either abrogating it
we can plan perfectly what
or, my lord, declaring that it will be operative only with such exceptions and modifications,
area we are contributing in the GNSS infrastructure and the
is a recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2.
Also, we are
it has to be inferred in my respectful submission
this article is a joint venture between IRIA and Indra,
that the triggering factor would be alive and operative only till such time as the Constituent Assembly is alive. And this is an inference, my lord, which I beg to infer and which I commend for your lordship's acceptance.
Payload for ATM control. Okay.
is inbuilt into sub-article 2
Are the
and the
papers
proviso.
destination to avoid any
That's why, my lord, the
misinformation
crucial
in
words
the
Constituent
draft
Assembly of the
flights,
state
and
referred
this
to in
was
clause 2
also the
need
possibility
not have
to
been that
safe
way.
in the
But when
oils
sub-article
and the
2 says,
transit
before the
areas
Constituent
to
Assembly for the
minimize
purpose of framing the
time
Constitution of
also for
India.
the flights.
Therefore, my lord, even originally, it
Yes,
was
thank you very
contemplated
much
that
for
this
the
Constituent Assembly for the state will have no function other than, my lord, or will not, will be functus officio once the Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened. That, my lord, it's a historically recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself in 1957 itself. But that's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso,
good afternoon.
the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated as
Distinguished guests,
being available coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly referred to in sub-article 2, and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any
and we'll have 3 minutes journey now less around
any
Atlantis.
significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed.
We come from the astrophysics. That's our DNA. We come
But, my
from
lord,
watching
it cannot,
stars,
under any
you know,
interpretative tool,
astrophysics, this coffee at 3 a.m., watching from special phenomena.
give fodder
trying
to
understand what is
to
happening
a
out there,
submission
to watch the Earth, to look down. And that's
that
the
Article
technology that
370
Atlantis
as a
has
whole,
developed
and at any rate
using,
Article 370,
technology for deep
sub-article
space
3,
employed for Earth observation. So
would
we have
also cease to be
developed
operative
an
once a
optical
proviso becomes
payload,
inoperable.
high-resolution optical payload that is able to work in different spectral bands.
My lord, ideally-
able to work with its dimensions with small satellites. thanks to
Ideally,
the
my lord, the proviso
hardware
would have
and
been,
to the software
would have been
designed
deleted
by Atlantis.
after
Now we're
the
providing full Earth
dissolution of the
observation
Constituent
solutions
Assembly for the
built
state.
around the core of
That's
the
a different
mission, the
matter, my
brain of the
lord.
mission,
One
that
need
is
not get into
the
that
optical
hypothesis
payload,
at all.
in order to be able
But
to
it
transmit
cannot be
to the
contended
to the customer as a prime contractor
that the
the
power
Earth
of the
observation
President
strategy
vouchsafed
based on
under
knowledge
Article
of the
373
We are 100 employees
would cease to be
company right now,
available
combination of
because the
private
proviso
and
is
public
no longer
shareholders.
available to be operated
As private shareholders, we have several oil and gas investors. As
In my
oil and
respectful
gas,
submission, the
sector
proviso itself
needs to,
contemplates
understand better and better the methane
that the
emissions
recommendatory power of the
and
Constituent
space
Assembly, my lord,
is,
whatever is the content of the
best, one of the
recommendatory
best
power or
assets
not,
to have a
my lord, it's a
wide
different
span
matter,
of
I think.
screening,
Enough submissions have been made on that.
with the
But the recommendatory power of the
able to do this,
Constituent Assembly
configuring our sensor in a
was
split channel
intended
that
even
detects methane,
originally to be
with
coterminous with the
1.65 microns.
life of the Constituent Assembly, which anyway, my lord, was dissolved after the Constitution of the
This
state
is our
was convened.
portfolio of payloads. We have two payloads in the market right now, one under development. The smaller one's 4 kilogram GSD, around 2 meters. The 170, which is 80 centimeters, you saw a previous image in the previous slide. And IC300, which a target with a target of below 50 centimeters.
My lord, my written submissions are at
full turnkey solutions
pages 400 to 411, my lord, of volume 3. 401 to 411 of volume 3.
In future with IC300. These are technology roadmap. We
411 to
are strong right
401
now,
to 411.
upstream, and extending to MWIR and LWIR and polarimetry.
My lord, this
These are our
aspect has been
missions.
dealt
We are
with.
in our
my
fourth
lord.
mission
I
right
won't
now.
therefore take up more time
Launched our
of your
second
lordships on
satellite,
this aspect.
some weeks ago with Transporter 8, and we have ahead 3 missions for next year on 16 new CubeSats and on 2 microsats with different instruments on board for oil and gas and defense and security. Here you can see an image of Suez Channel in Egypt. Thank you very much. Shukriya, I just want to share a thought on behalf of Atlantis.
Lord, paragraphs 1 to
Centuries
4 I
ago,
have dealt.
ocean and sea were granting hope for mankind. And probably today we're all here and glued by a new hope, which is space. Thank you very much. Shukriya.
Thank you very much to you, sir. And now from PLD Space Spain, may I invite Mr. Raul.
Okay, hello everybody. This is
Lord, the next submission, my lord, would be on the aspect of federalism. Lord, there are two, my lord,
share with us our capabilities. So PLD Space
papers,
is a
my lord, which
we are developing
your lordships may kindly have a look at, juxtaposed with each other.
We are selecting the
My lord, one is the
very
opening
mature
remarks of
technologies
Dr.
in terms
Ambedkar,
of engines, tractors,
my lord, which your lordships will
avionics,
find
ground
in
equipment,
volume 8
operations
of
and
the
everything
compilation
to
of
do
documents.
a very simple
If
rocket
you're
to be
beginning a new
operated
point
to
on
develop
federalism. Should we take it up on Monday?
class
Very
vehicle,
good.
So that
super,
Very
let me say, reliable, because we are
Lord,
understanding
I'll
that
still
we are not
maintain
trying to
timeline.
improve the state of the art of the rocket. We are just
we
trying
be
to
always conscious of how you are generally in the court, so we don't expect anything different. You'll be precise and
I want to add
always
also that it's
very
eco-friendly. We
focused.
are
We
using
expect that as
propellants
usual.
called biokerosene.
Thank
We
you.
are
My
developing
Lord, there
with
was
the
one
national
request,
energy
my Lord,
company of
Lordships,
Repsol,
if your Lordships could consider, because it fell from your
synthetic
Lordships,
kerosene to
my
be,
Lord,
let me say,
would it be
net
possible for
zero
your
company
Lordships to
today.
convene
So
at 10
PLD
o'clock
is
on Monday so that we
full,
get 3 hours?
Lord,
vertically
Mr.
integrated
Nataraj
company, so we
had, my Lord,
manufacture
10
everything
minutes of
in-house.
submissions.
We
A new
purchase
point.
the raw material and enter from one door of our workshop, and in the other door we are delivering entire rockets. So even the testing capacity, we had 100,000 square meters of ground testing capability to test tractors,
Yes,
engines,
circumstance for
systems,
today. We've given you
almost
full half
everything,
day now.
COPVs or
Very good.
whatever technology
Lord,
that
Mr.
a launcher has on board.
Mr. Nataraj
We
would
are
like
the
to
only
have 10
company in
minutes.
Europe that we
And
developed that
two
system
young,
level testing.
two
So
other
we have,
people
let me say,
who
a
will,
small,
I know your Lordships would not.
We'll come back.
Not so
Today
young
the
can
company
divide
has a
the time
size of
period between
150
10:31.
full-time employees.
At the same time, I know that everybody has worked very hard. We wouldn't deprive even at least 5 minutes of time.
Lord, some of them have worked since 10 years. Let them have, Lord, their day in the court, Lord, maybe for some time.
I'm sure that the seniors who precede them will give them some time so that they have that
No,
time.
we'll do that.
Certainly.
For example, Mr. Tanwani is also a research scholar.
Sensor in the umbilical
Mr.
release
Tanwani,
mechanism.
Mr.
So we are
Rahul
very proud
Tanwani
to
has
achieve
been
that
Tanwani,
strengthening.
Mr. Rajput, they have been working since many years.
Certainly give them
Whatever
time.
they can
Aerospace is a
contribute.
company that was founded in 2011, 12 years of heritage. You know, I don't know if we are from the new
sure
or
you'll
from
be
the
able
old
to
space.
We'll do
today,
that.
because
We'll do.
a lot of
We won't
years
exceed the
working
time.
today
We'll finish by
with a strong
Monday,
support with
1
our
o'clock or
national
whatever is the
government
time
and
that
the
your Lordships
National
are.
Space Agency. So I think
So
with our
we'll wrap it
colleague and
up
our
on
colleagues,
Monday for
at
this
Spain,
side at 1 o'clock.
we are
And
warranting
then
at
in the
national
afternoon
level
we'll
the
start the
capacity
rejoinder.
at the European level,
Grateful.
the capacity
Grateful
to
to you.
launch something in the space. So stay connected, because our maiden flight will be in September, October this year. So thank you very much to everybody.
Thank you very much, sir. And with that, before I invite the gentleman from Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, I'd like to invite Larsen and Toubro and Lakshmi Machine Works to be closer to the podium. I invite Mr. Balaji Natarajan to now please present on behalf of HAL.
Good afternoon. HAL is a strategic partner, has been associated with ISRO for Indian space programs for almost last 5 decades. HAL has promoted ISRO for all its development projects, including Chandrayaan-1, Mars Orbiter Mission, Chandrayaan-2, Crew Atmospheric Re-entry Experiment Test, Pad Abort Test of Cruise Escape Systems, etc. HAL has been supplying critical structures, tankages, satellite structures for PSLV, GSLV, and LVN-3 launch vehicles. We have delivered the biggest tank and also the heaviest tank for cryogenic upgradation development program of ISRO. We are making critical hardware for the Gaganyaan project for both the unmanned and subsequently manned missions planned by ISRO. HAL is already supplying L40 integrated stages for the GSLV vehicle. We have also established dedicated facility for taking up stage integration of PS2 and GS2 stages of PSLV and GSLV respectively. Further, HAL along with L&T will be realizing the PSLV launch vehicle for NSIL in the coming years. This challenging project, once accomplished, will go a long way in establishing the role of industry in taking up bigger, complex, end-to-end realization projects for the Indian space programs. HAL has also established the cryogenic rocket manufacturing facility in Bangalore. We have commenced the pre-production activities and are hopeful of rolling out the development modules of the engine in a couple of months' time. The facilities with Aerospace division has been augmented continuously over time to manufacture structures and propellant tanks of different types and sizes, different materials and varied complexities. The manufacturing excellence of the division is visible in production of space-worthy large components and assemblies with stringent dimensional and quality requirements. HAL has been the mainstay partner from the era of experimentation to the present era of commercialization. We hope that this journey will continue and HAL will remain to serve the Indian space industry in every way possible. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you very much, sir. And now may I invite Larsen and Toubro. Mr. Lakshmesh is going to now present. So this is your green is ahead.
Good afternoon, sirs. And thanks for the honor to be here in the G20 summit. With over 80 years of strong customer focus and world-class quality, L&T has unmatched capabilities across technology, engineering, construction, high-tech manufacturing, and of course maintains leadership positions across all its businesses. In the domain of high-tech manufacturing, L&T has critical role in critical and strategic sectors like power, nuclear power, defense, and of course, aerospace. L&T has been partner to ISRO over 5 decades and across practically every domain of the upstream, midstream, and downstreams. When it comes to the upstream, Larsen & Toubro has been scaling up from being a tier 1 to super tier 1 to a complete system integration in launch vehicle domain. Of course, with colleagues HAL, we are going to do the PSLV system integration. In terms of satellite also, we are scaling up from subsystems to system to complete bus structure and power management system. In terms of midstream, we have been able to establish a lot of ground systems and radar communication, navigation, and GSATs on turnkey basis. And of course, in downstream, L&T, along with its group companies, have been establishing smart cities and other smart solutions by using space tech and data. Going forward, we look at creating an end-to-end capability across the space domain, in all the streams of upstream, midstream, and downstream. We do make serious commitments to the G20's theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. We are looking at space as a serious economic opportunity. We have made investments in high-tech manufacturing capabilities and skill sets in design and testing. We take the responsibility of upholding the values of the country as well as the global ESG standards, and of course, take the responsibility to grow the space sector in India and around. And certainly, we do believe that it's through alliances that great things can be achieved. And L&T partners with domestic, global, governmental, private, startups, and to build and grow the space economy in a collective manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And now from Lakshmi Machine Works Limited, may I invite Mr. Channa.
Very good afternoon. Thank you very much, ISRO and G20 members, inviting us for our presentation. Lakshmi Machine Works, based out of Coimbatore. We are into composites, metallics. We have the machine shop on composites, machines, sheet metal, special process and assemblies. This is just an overview of LMW. We are a $500 million company, and Aerospace division is a part of it. We are already delivering the green parts from our facility. We have installed 50 solar and wind mill with 48 megabytes, so we're already supplying the green energy parts. Glimpse of composite facility, you see all the facilities are being available at our shop, right from cold storage to C-scan, the newest machine we have, hot air oven, and also the clean rooms. The largest clean room we have to accommodate large launch vehicle parts, and largest autoclave we have, which is around 6 meter length and 4 meter dia. So accommodate major of the curing processes, including the hot air oven. You can see the entity facility. We have all, as I mentioned, C-scan with the largest 7 meter, and all the facilities on Sonatest, A-scan, and bond tester as well. We're proud to say that we have created the Center of Excellence for Payload Fairing in India. We are manufacturing various payload fairing today. If you can see, our largest is around 10 meter height. The second was 3 meter height. So we will be the largest payload fairing manufacturer for various companies. Proud to say to contribution for ISRO as well, as I mentioned, including payload fairing, we are supporting the equipment-based shroud and also on the antenna structures, adapters. Some of the other programs we do with composites on the engine side, we have on the acoustic door panels, helicopter parts, radars, and also on the cowling parts for helicopter. We are also into the aerostructures. You can see the large parts of structures, including some of the space program and also on the wing parts. We do manufacture and also process at our facility and also assemble it. So we have a one-stop solution at our Composite facility. As I mentioned, on the capability of engine parts, we do various parts, as I have displayed over here, right from large 1.5 meters dia rings to various casings and the turbine parts as well. We have the special process facility to accommodate all the parts over here. We do processing and also on the requirement of painting, NDT, passivation. We are also in the assemblies of some of the structural parts of aircrafts and also on the, it's in military aircrafts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. So, ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's now about 4 o'clock. It is 4 o'clock now. We'll take a very short 10-minute energizing break. We've got tea, coffee lined up for you on either sides of this room. I request you to please get a cup of tea, coffee, but come back at 4:10 because 10 minutes is all we have. We have a lot of more presentations. We are at the 23rd one right now. We have 49 total presentations. So I'm going to request you to please come back in a few minutes before 10 minutes finish. So I invite you to please do join us for tea, coffee on the other sides of this room in the wings, and please come back in 10 minutes. You could bring along your tea, coffee cups. Thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen. After this, of course, for those of you, our participants, we have Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, Central Manufacturing Technology Institute, Midhani, Centum Electronics, OneWeb India, and Anant Technologies. Those are the next 6 presenters. And thereafter, ladies and gentlemen, I will be announcing the others to come join us closer to the podium. So thank you once again. Please take this energizing 10-minute break only and come back a little before, a couple seconds before 4:10. Thank you so much for your cooperation.
That the recommendatory powers are therefore coterminous with the tenure of the Constituent Assembly, which has to end, my lord, with the framing of the Constitution for the state. It is not as if, my lord, the Constitution contemplates a Constituent Assembly for any purpose other than the framing of the Constitution for the state as such. Therefore, my lords, one of the termini which your lordships were referring to, there are 2 terminus echo, my lord, insofar as the Constituent Assembly is concerned, going by sub-article 2 and the proviso. One is a convening of the Constituent Assembly, and the other is a dissolution of the Constituent Assembly. The proviso merely does not say Constituent Assembly of the state. It says Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. Clause 2 says Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution. Therefore, the tenure of the Constituent Assembly is inbuilt, my lord, into sub-article 2 and the proviso as well. If therefore, my lord, the triggering factor as per the proviso to Article 373 for the President to issue a public notification either abrogating it or, my lord, declaring that it will be operative only with such exceptions and modifications is a recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2. It has to be inferred, in my respectful submission, that the triggering factor would be alive and operative only till such time as the Constituent Assembly is alive. And this is an inference, my lord, which I beg to infer and which I commend for your lordship's acceptance. Is inbuilt into sub-article 2 and the proviso. That's why, my lord, the crucial words Constituent Assembly of the state referred to in clause 2 need not have been that way. But when sub-article 2 says before the Constituent Assembly for the purpose of framing the Constitution of India, therefore, my lord, even originally it was contemplated that this Constituent Assembly for the state will have no function other than, my lord, or will be functus officio once the Constituent Assembly of the Constitution of the state is convened. That, my lord, it's a historically recognized fact that it actually dissolved itself in 1957 itself. But that's a different matter. But the point is, my lord, for the purpose of the proviso, the triggering factor, my lord, is contemplated as being available coterminous with the life of the Constituent Assembly referred to in sub-article 2, and therefore, my lord, it ceases to have any significance, my lord, once the Constituent Assembly is dissolved and once the Constitution of the state is formed. But, my lord, it cannot, under any interpretative tool, give fodder to a submission that Article 370 as a whole, and at any rate Article 370 sub-article 3,